Meanwhile, Ted Cruz responding at a rally in Irvine, California just moments ago. Take a listen.
Now, in response, Donald has been yelling and screaming. I'm sure some cursing and some late-night fevered tweeting. All the characteristics I would note we would want of a commander-in-chief. And the latest thing he seized upon is when people vote against him, they're stealing the election.
Here to weigh in, and we're putting him right in the middle of this debate, Governor Mike Huckabee, former Arkansas governor and former Republican presidential candidate. I know you love to be in that position between Cruz and Trump, but Trump calls it a crooked deal. His campaign guy calls it Gestapo-like scorched earth tactics. Do you agree?
Well, it clearly is not exactly the classic way in which people vote and delegates are chosen. Now, I used to say all the time in the governor's office that there's a difference between things being legal and being right. What they did is legal. I'll leave it up to the voters of Colorado to decide if it's right. That essentially, you didn't have a primary, you didn't have a caucus, you just had a smoke-filled room, and given Colorado, we know what kind of smoke was likely in that room,
and also, I think of all of the voters in Colorado, the Republican voters who feel like they've been skunked. Forget about Donald. Their vote is not being considered at all.
Well, and that's the whole point, is that this was put back in the hands of party bosses. Now, I listened to what Ted Cruz said. Let me just make sure that we kind of remember this day, because if we get to the convention, and Trump hasn't secured 1,237 delegates, and it goes to the first ballot and then to the second, and somebody else other than Trump and Cruz end up getting the nomination, I will expect Ted Cruz to be very quiet, very supportive, and say it's just great with him. Do you think that'll happen, David?
No.
I don't think so.
What would Mike Huckabee say if that happens?
What would I do?
What would you say and what would you do if it's not given to either Trump or Cruz?
Well, I think it's going to be a huge total meltdown of the party at that point. Because if, in fact, the two people who are most in the lead with delegates are both sort of pushed aside for someone else, I feel like that the people who came to the convention to vote for one of the two frontrunners will be so dispirited, so discouraged. I told Sean Hannity the other night, I think you might even see a mushroom cloud coming out of the Cleveland Convention Center, a political mushroom cloud, let me be clear.
Yeah. Let me just put up one figure before you go, and that is that the Trump delegates sort of outpace the number of actual votes. He is criticizing what he himself is taking advantage of. He's got 37% of the votes so far, the overall votes, but he has 46% of the delegates. So he himself is benefiting from some of the unfairness that he's complaining about. How do you respond to that?
Well, the fact is, it's delegates that win the nomination. It's not votes. It's like the Electoral College. We've had cases where a person lost the popular vote but won the election because it was based on the Electoral College. It's no different than this. So that's not without precedent. It's kind of how the system works. It makes sure that there is a voice for the smaller states. That's why we have the Electoral College, a voice for the minority. But when people don't even vote at all, and it's just the party officials get together and say, okay, here's how we're going to do this way, then I really think that creates some problems.
That's what gets under your skin. The party boss is taking over. Governor Huckabee, great to see you. Thank you for coming in.